Internet! Hello, you lovelies, and welcome to This Week in Comics, and it is a big one. If you're new to this page, first of all, thank you. If you're new to this show, thank you. This channel is about comics and movies and comic book movies, but this show is about the comics themselves, which I don't think get enough of the spotlight. Lately, it has been crazy in comic book adaptations, but I want the comics themselves to get some love. Also, this page, I'm trying to grow to 25K in May. It is now May, but we are very close. We're at like 23.6. Thank you. I so appreciate it. I've been genuinely loving growing my own YouTube page, and that is thanks to you guys, so I sincerely appreciate each and every comment, each and every like. Please keep them coming. Without further ado, let's get into This Week in Comics.
Let's do the list. Spider-Man.
Guilty.
The Incredible Hulk.
Afraid so.
Oh man, this is so cool. The X-Men.
Now that you mention it.
Now, before we get into the news, and it is a crazy week in news between Free Comic Book Day, a Red Band comic from Marvel, and lots of Amalgam Universe stuff, let's do some reviews of the comics that are out on the shelves right now. My top 9 comics from the last week of April, April 24th, were Avengers number 13. This book is insane. I am loving this Avengers. Jed MacKay was writing some really great Black Cat stuff. I'm glad he keeps getting more opportunities, and this Avengers run is an all-timer. This is dealing with all the events of Krakoa, especially dealing with Tony Stark and the Stark tech being used to make Sentinels. Now, what I really love about this issue isn't even just the Tony Stark stuff, which has been exceptional, it's the Black Panther stuff. The Black Panther use in this run and recent Avengers runs has been cool, but not like Black Panther cool. There's this undercurrent of like waiting for stuff to pounce, and this is the issue where things pounce. I love what they've done with the twist with 3D Man. You'll see what happens and all the insanity there. I love that this feels like a really long game, and the action and the heart are both in equal measure, and that's what I love about the Avengers. This issue 13 is spectacular. Next up, we've got Daredevil number 8 from Ahmed and Cooter, and now this is a 60th anniversary celebratory issue, so it's a pretty good jumping on point, because not only is it the main story, but there's 4 anthology stories in the back of this book, making it a giant collection of Daredevil greatness. Now, the main story is continuing the arc right now, where Daredevil is actually fighting against versions of his own sins. He's addressing each and every one of his sins, and this particular issue is also going to be dealing with this giant gang war that's mounting. There's a new gang in Hell's Kitchen and in New York called the Heat, and we find out who's leading them. We find out a lot of escalating stakes. So if you like Daredevil in the fighting esoteric existential stuff, we got it. If you like Daredevil fighting hoodlums and gangs, you got it. If you like Daredevil dealing with the conflict of his religion versus his violence, you got it. This is what I love about Daredevil. The first arc wasn't as much for me. This arc, which is the second issue in this new arc, is absolutely my jam. Check out this Daredevil. Next up, we've got Dawn Runner number 2 from Ram V and an artist I don't know that well, named Evan Cable. Named Evan Cable. Now, this book is gorgeous. I wanted to make sure I had that name right, because Evan Cable is doing incredible illustration here. Now, this book is, imagine if Gundam Wing had a baby with Ghost and also some Ghost in the Machine. Now, this is such a dense sci-fi plot, but it's something that we've seen before, but not quite in this way. And I really love the relationship between our driver of the mech, our Gundam driver, with the kind of existential idea of being trapped in a machine and what it means when humanity kind of blends with machinery. There's also some general ghost story elements too, and all of this mixed with sci-fi action, mixed with giant kaiju stuff. So if you like Pacific Rim, if you like Gundam, if you like any of those things, or if you love ghost folklore, this is a really interesting book. Check out Dawn Runner. Next up, we've got Duke number 5. Now, this is a G.I. Joe book from Williamson and Riley, but it is set within the Energon universe, and that is very, very cool, especially in this issue. Now, this is only a 5-issue miniseries. This concludes the first miniseries, but it sets up a lot of things to come. This book is the conclusion of an action arc, so basically this is the cheering moments, the aha moments, the reveals, the spectacle issue, but it never sacrifices the actual integrity of the characters and the character arcs we've developed. This is one of the smartest G.I. Joe books I've ever read. I'm not as big a G.I. Joe guy as a lot of people are. I love the 80s stuff, and I think G.I. Joe is fun, but what they're doing here is they're making it really, really quippy, smart, but also building a grander universe, and that's what this issue does the best, and I'm really impressed. Like, I genuinely didn't expect to be like, yeah, G.I. Joe book's one of my favorites every week. This Duke book is something special. All right, we're at Harley Quinn number 39. Harley Quinn is one of my favorite characters in comics. I love that Harley Quinn is a character from the animated series that escaped her medium and became this very powerful figure in comics. It feels like the character to me who's escaped the Joker and has become a very powerful figure in showing women the importance of being you and also being strong. Harley Quinn means the world to me. So when Harley Quinn gets a new reboot, I always try that comic. This run has been insane. Teenie Howard is writing a very broad Harley Quinn. There's so much happening. And the last arc was very quantum theory. It was very Spider-Verse. It was very like multiversal, meeting yourself. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. This is my jam, though. Issue 38 brought her back to Earth, and she was struggling with the idea of being an Earthbound singular Harley Quinn. Who is she? Now that you've seen the multiverse, what do you do? And that was fun. That really got me back in. 38 is a great jumping on point. 39 takes things even further. Harley Quinn is a psychiatrist. I love that about her. She's intelligent, but she's also insane. This is her deciding how to help criminals by taking on and building a team not of villains or of heroes, but a team of therapy patients. This book is so much fun because Batman's rogues are all kind of mirrors to Batman. Batman's villains are like, what if Batman was just left of center more than he is, and he decided to, instead of, have that passionate love for his family, the passionate love for a partner would be reflected in Mr. Freeze. What if instead of Batman being a vigilante, he became a public figure and was the face of something, a la Two-Face? Like, all of the villains are, psychological whoop, and this is a really fun opportunity to explore that with Harley Quinn psychoanalyzing them. And this issue is about a certain Greek god-based villain that is, going through some identity crises. But fantastic stuff. Harley Quinn. Pick up issue 38 and 39 and have a really fun ride with this run, especially good for new Harley Quinn fans. Sticking with Batman villains, we're going to Penguin number 9. Now, you all know I love me some Tom King. I think Tom King is one of the best Batman writers ever. Like, period. Hard stop. If there's a Tom King book, I'm probably checking it out, especially if it's Batman, and this is him writing Penguin. Now, you might not love Tom King, but even if you hate his style, there's got to be some reverence for the dynamic use of language in his books. And this Penguin book is utilizing speech bubbles, it's utilizing thought blocks, it's utilizing exposition, all while moving forward a very dense story, and I love that. This book is so well written, and it's about Penguin who had left Gotham, who had faked his own death, re-rising through the ranks and becoming one of the very important big bosses, if not the big boss, in Gotham. Now, this particular arc, it really deals with how someone leverages their weakness as strength. How people seeing the Penguin as a joke is actually his greatest asset. Even Batman. How Batman dismisses some of Penguin's genius. And this issue is about everything kind of coming together. It also involves a bunch of cool new Batman characters like the Help and a character that swears so much I actually can't say her name because YouTube will demonetize this video. And it just does so many creative things about the world outside of Batman, which not only enhances Batman, but enhances Gotham and enhances Penguin. So with this Rising Tide Lifts All Boats is this Penguin title. I'd go back to issue 1. This has been an all-time Batman run, and Batman's not the lead. I love that. All right, over to the world of indies, but probably the biggest indie book on the shelves right now from Boom Studios is Something is Killing the Children. Something is Killing the Children, number 36, is an incredible jumping on point. If you've never read a single issue of Something is Killing the Children, you will get something out of this arc that starts right here. This is a 5-issue anthology series arc. Each of these 5 issues is going to be an anthology issue, meaning it can be read on its own. It's going to summarize its own story, it's going to have its own 3-act structure, and basically these 5 issues are 5 different adventures with Erica Slaughter, our lead character. So 5 different towns, 5 different points in her life, all of which are her fighting these monsters and becoming a better assassin, a better guild member, a better basically monster hunter. And this book has been so cool in building mythos. It's been so cool at having these long, overarching villainous arcs and also building out the slaughterhouse, the houses of slaughter, which is a fun play on many literary tropes. But also, this stuff is fun. Like, it's dark, depraved, it's menacing, it's madness. But these 5 issues, I think, if this first issue has anything to say about it, are going to be a return to, like, okay, let's take a breather. We've had a lot of really harrowing stuff. Yes, this is a traumatizing story in general, but these issues can be fun monster hunting stuff. So it'll really give you a sense of how dark and depraved and morose and introspective, but still fun, Something is Killing the Children can be. Definitely check this out with issue 36. My number one pull of the week will surprise no one. Out of all of these 9 comics, if you can only pick up one comic, Ultimate Spider-Man number 4. Ultimate Spider-Man, I talk about all the time as the most approachable comic, I think, on the shelves, and that is the 2000s run, the original run from Bendis and Bagley. If anyone asks me, what comic should I read, I say Ultimate Spider-Man. This new Ultimate Spider-Man is just as good, if not quite as approachable, but it is so genius that this issue has no Spider-Man in it. This issue is completely a conversation. This issue is Peter Parker and Mary Jane sitting down and having dinner with a brand new Harry Osborn we just met, who is a billionaire who is also very much the Green Goblin, but only Peter and Harry know that each of each other know that, and this is a brand new relationship for them. And the fourth at their table, because it's a double date, is our new Ultimate Gwen Stacy. And Ultimate Gwen Stacy, because Spider-Man never existed, never died. So what would it be if Gwen Stacy had met Harry Osborn, a millionaire, billionaire in his own right, and they got married, and now she is running a company? This is the intelligent Gwen Stacy that I love from the 60s and 70s, but in a new outlet, a new way. How would she run a business? What would it be like for her to be in this world? And I love the dichotomy between old money, lots of money, and Peter and Mary Jane, family, kids, not a lot of money, and the conversations about journalism and integrity and what it means to be a hero. And basically, Peter and Harry know that they're hero vigilantes, but Peter hasn't told Mary Jane yet, and Harry has told Gwen Stacy. So there's this great four-way conversation about identity and trust and powers. It is genius. This book is written by Jonathan Hickman, and he is so capable. He is one of the best writers working. And the art by Messina is absolutely staggering. I'm so happy with Ultimate Spider-Man. This fills me with so much joy to say that my favorite comic run got a sequel 24 years later, and that run is just as special. And the original run was making Spider-Man younger. Like, they're going back to the OG, making him 15, and that was what we needed in 2000. Now in 2024, a lot of us are adults, and a lot of us have grown up with this stuff, even more so maybe than necessarily in the year 2000, where, yes, Spider-Man had been around for 40 years, but a lot of people jumped back into comics in the 2000s. Now, we're all 20s, 30s, etc., so this is Spider-Man as a dad with a beard, with responsibilities, in a different way. I love that. The power versus responsibility line is dropped in this issue by someone you wouldn't expect, in a way you wouldn't expect. Read Ultimate Spider-Man. I cannot sing its praises higher. I love this issue. I love this book. And my last of my top 9 of the week is going to be World Tree number 9. This is from James Tynion IV, who also wrote Something is Killing the Children. He is another of my favorite writers working in comics today, and this book is bananas. I don't want to give too much away because this is a I don't want to give too much away because this is a mystery horror comic, and it's also a techno, futuristic, retro-futuristic take on the internet in a really unique way. So the mystery is part of the journey. So I'd go back to issue 1, but in brief, this issue deals with the Undernet, which is this kind of terrifying, mind-warping life virus. Like, in our world, it's a virus, but it's the other side of the internet, and it taking over our world, and people trying to stop it. And this issue gives us a newish character getting a lot more power and a lot more stakes in this world. It deals with our team having to shift a lot. It deals with the villain getting more powerful. There's a lot going on in this, but I love that I went into World Tree just knowing I love James Tynion. I think everyone should go in as blind as possible. It's a crazy commentary on intelligence, technology, the world we live in, all that stuff, and it's a horror comic, which isn't usually my jam, but this delivers in a really fascinating commentary on technology. Check out World Tree number 9. And those are my top 9 books of the week from the last week of April. Let's dive into the news from comic books the first week of May. So today is the confluence of so many amazing things. It is New Comic Book Day today, it is Free Comic Book Day this weekend, and it is May. We've kicked off the month in a big way, but before I get into the news that ties into all of that, I do want to say this New Comic Book Day brings my most anticipated comic of the summer right here. This is Deadpool and Wolverine World War III number 1. Not only is this 2 of my favorite characters put together in the first time in their own title, this is from Joe Kelly, one of my favorite writers in comics, who's writing my favorite character, one of my favorite characters, but this is my favorite team. Like, Joe Kelly on Deadpool is the best version of the character to me. It's the voice in my head is this Deadpool. Love this. I love Duggan. I love Liefeld, but Kelly's Deadpool means the world to me. And the art is from Adam Kubert. Adam Kubert, man, this guy is one of my favorite X-Men artists of all time, and he's drawing this team up. I'm so excited for this book. So this drops today. If you want to go to your new comic, if you want to go to New Comic Book Day and pick up anything that will be, your $4 comic book price, I'd recommend this book. I could not be more excited about Marvel making a tie-in book leading up to the movie that probably won't give anything away. This isn't like an adaptation of the movie, but it's a great way to see these characters interact from two of the best to do it in the industry. Check this one out. All right, comic book news-wise, it is Free Comic Book Day this May 4th. It is always the first weekend in May is Free Comic Book Day. And this is a great way for not only your local comic book shop, but publishers themselves to get new people reading comics. Now, there's a lot of deals out all weekend. If your local comic book shop has a big FC BD celebration, they usually do a lot of sales, a lot of markdowns on statues, Silver Age books. They probably have some stuff on trade paperbacks. Like, this is Black Friday for comic book fans. This is a way to get people in the door. And these new comics themselves are a great way if you've never read a character, known a character, had no approach to them except in movies or TV, pick up a free comic. And sometimes these free comics become very valuable down the line because this is the only time they're going to be in print. So though they're free, sometimes this is the first appearance of a character, or it's the first start of a new storyline. This can be way more than the free down the line, and it's just a great way for you to discover a character. So I highly recommend this. If you're a collector, there's money possibly in it. If you're a reader, that's the value to me, is you get to not only get in a comic book store, but you get to discover these characters in another medium. And it's a great way for local comic book shops to not only stay in business, but find new business. The 6 books I'm most excited about, there's like 20, I think maybe 30 new Free Comic Book Day things from publishers, but my 6 most anticipated for me to read first are going to be Absolute Power from DC Comics. The Absolute line is going to be from Scott Snyder. This issue, however, is not. And the Absolute line is basically the answer to Marvel's Ultimate Comics. So this is a new continuity that doesn't eliminate current DC continuity, but it's just like Ultimate Spider-Man existed while regular 616 Peter Parker existed, if that makes sense. So it's a fresh start. If you've never read Green Lantern, if you've never read Superman, if you've never read Batman, Wonder Woman, any of these characters, this line is going to have brand new versions of those characters, and this issue introduces us to that world. So check out Absolute Power. There's also Blood Hunt from Marvel Comics. Blood Hunt is their big, giant summer kickoff, and it's all vampire and Blade driven. It's a bit of a bummer in hindsight, because clearly this was meant to set up the Blade movie, which got delayed like 6 times and now comes out supposedly late next year, might be 2026, but I'm so excited for Blade to get his time in the sun, because he's a daywalker, but for people to discover this character. He's only got like 40 issues of comics if you don't count the Tomb of Dracula stuff. It's crazy how little comics there are of Blade, but he's such a beloved character because of the movies of Wesley Snipes, which helped bring in the MCU, because how badass the character is when he does appear, because of his team-up appearances. But this is a really cool, full, all of Marvel Universe event surrounding Blade, and that's really exciting for the character. And there's a Free Comic Book Day to kick it off. There's also Boombox's 10th anniversary. I love Boom Studios. They do Berserker, the Keanu Reeves book, which I was honored to host the Hall H panel for. They do Something is Killing the Children. They've got a lot of stuff that is underground, but should be mainstream and will be as time goes on. But those are their 2 big mainstream books that the world has so far discovered. And this is a great way for you to discover the other ones. The cover is Zawa. Zawa is a great book from Boom Studios that deals with a lot of the world's issues in a really fun way. It's a very climate, look at what we're doing, but through this really fun monster creature. It's a fascinating take on how to be a better person, which a lot of comic books are. Zawa's a great read, and this 10th anniversary of Boom is going to go through a lot of the characters you might not know if you only know them from Berserker or Something is Killing the Children. If you don't know Boom Studios at all, check this one out. It's free, and you can discover new characters you might love. We've also got Mad Magazine Special Edition. I used to love Mad Magazine as a kid. I love this cover. I'm checking this out mainly because of the cover and because I used to love Mad Magazine, and it's free. And then Ultimate Universe Spider-Man 2024. If you are reluctant to check out the new Ultimate Spider-Man, even though I just raved about it in my reviews, this will give you a free taste of this Ultimate Universe. It's probably going to introduce us a bit to the Avengers over there. They're called the Ultimates in that universe. It'll probably show a little Ultimate Black Panther, but it seems to be fairly Spider-Man-centric and showing that universe overall, and it's a Free Comic Book Day version of this world, so you can see if this take on these beloved characters are for you. And the final one I'm checking out is Worlds of James Tynion IV. If you just listen to my reviews from this week, I love James Tynion. He's Something is Killing the Children, he's World Tree, he's a lot of horror comics overall. This is going to give you a taste for free of some of his insane mind. His characters are captivating. The worlds he builds are insane. This world of James Tynion will give you a taste of a lot of different stuff, all for Free Comic Book Day. Definitely check those 6 out and see what your favorite publishers are also doing. That's my top 6, but there's like 30 free comics coming out at your local comic shops. Support local comic shops. I appreciate you very much. Also in the news, Marvel and DC are publishing not only their Versus stuff, but their Amalgam stuff all over again for the very first time in years. The publishers have not re-released these in like 15 years. So if you've got old prints, they're worth a lot because these have been out of print for a very, very long time. And who better to be the cover artist responsible than someone who is now the creative director at DC who made Marvel huge in the 90s. The guy who did both, Jim Lee, is doing covers for both the Versus. There it is. Love it. That's beautiful. And the Amalgam. There it is. It's beautiful. I love it. I want it. I need it. And these are both available for $150. That include like well more than $150 worth of comics inside. They're both available August 6th. Now, I'm not saying that this and this mean we're getting stuff in the future from the studio side, but I am saying that Marvel and DC don't hate each other as much as some fans want them to. This gang war, this rivalry, it's all on the fan side. Jeff Johns, Kevin Feige are friends. The publishers are friends. Jim Lee is still working to draw Marvel characters when he can, even though he's the head of creative at DC. The rivalry is ridiculous. If you love Batman, you can love Spider-Man. If you love Deadpool, you can love Green Lantern. If you love Wonder Woman, you're allowed to love Captain Marvel. This rivalry is ridiculous. This shows it. And if this is any indication, maybe one day we will see our Avengers and Justice League. Maybe one day we will see a giant crossover with these characters. This happening in publishing is a good sign that the legal is moving and grooving, and Jim Lee, who's effectively like the James Gunn of the comic side, being that he's worked on Guardians and now is doing Superman, this gives me a lot of hope that we can finally squash some of this ridiculous beef. August 6th, both of these come out. These covers by Jim Lee make me so happy. There's also covers from Dave Gibbons, and there's another cover from one of my favorites, John Romita Jr., who is responsible for some great Superman stuff and iconic runs on Spider-Man. Like, he's one of my Spider-Man artists when I think of Spider-Man and X-Men. This guy is Marvel and DC, just like Jim Lee is, so I love these 4 covers. Check these out August 6th. And our last bit of news in the world of comic book news for the week of May 1st is Blood Hunt. I talked about it a little bit earlier with Free Comic Book Day, but we're getting a Red Band Blood Hunt comic book. An R-rated take on a comic book is very interesting, especially with Disney owning Marvel. I'm so excited that we're getting Deadpool R-rated. I'm so excited to have that rated R trailer, but a lot of people doubted Disney would go so hard. This isn't the first time we've had an R-rated comic from Marvel, by any means. Marvel Knights is a whole R-rated imprint, but calling it Red Band, allowing that little bit of movie flavor, allowing this post-Disney world of owning these comics to have an R-rated comic, this gives me hope for the maturation of Marvel in general. This is a bloody, violent comic book, as it needs to be. It's a vampire comic. But I'm hoping if this does well, we get more things that are a little bit more adult skewing for the adult comic book fans in movies, in TV, in comic books. I'm not saying, again, this is the first of its kind. It's not. But it's good to see a Red Band commentary on something like this in a summer event book. So, R-rated version of a comic. Very excited to see vampires get to be vampires. This drops when the regular Blood Hunt drops in a couple weeks. Check out the Red Band version if you're curious about this take. Alright, that is the news from this week. You saw my reviews. Let's dive into the previews of the new comics dropping today at your local comic book shop. These are the books I'm excited for on May 1st. Alright, so before we get out of here, let's dive into the previews of the new comics that are out today that I'm going to be checking out on the week of May 1st that are available right now at your local comic book store from Boom Studios. As I mentioned before, we've got the 10th anniversary extravaganza. Check out this Boom box for all sorts of Boom goodness, as well as the worlds of James Tynion IV. Over from DC Comics, we've got that Absolute Power Free Comic Book Day I mentioned, as well as a Barda special edition. I'm very excited for that. I think Big Barda is a fantastic character. We've also got DC's Spring Breakout, which intrigues me. I love a fun one-off anthology type comic. We've also got a annual for the Flash. The 2024 annual drops this week. I've been loving this Flash run. If this issue is anything like it, we're in for a treat. We've got the Harley Quinn annual dropping as well. You guys know how much I love the Harley Quinn run. We've also got that Mad Magazine Free Comic Book Day I talked about, as well as a Nightwing annual. I am so happy with Tom Taylor's Nightwing. I want more and more. I know the run's almost over, so every morsel we can get from this arc, and it looks like this Nightwing run will be diving into a new character that was just introduced. We've got the Superman House of Brainiac annual, or special, coming from DC Comics as well this week. If you guys haven't read House of Brainiac, it just started like last week, so it's a good time to jump on. Then we've got from Dynamite Comics, Lilo and Stitch number 3. You guys know how much I've been loving that. Even though I'm not the biggest Lilo and Stitch movie fan, I haven't watched it in years, but It's not as much my jam, though the comic book is. I love this sequel adaptation of a story that I was like, I like this, but it's not like my top 5 Disney. So if you love it, you will probably especially love this. And then we've got a new Space Ghost #1 coming from them as well. Then from Image Comics, I am intrigued just by the title. We've got Bear Pirate Viking Queen #1. What is it? I don't know. Is the name great? Absolutely. We've got Crave #6. I've loved Crave 1 through 5. It's basically a story of the perils of social media, but using like weaponized sex as a way to get the insanity of the things we do for social media across, dealing with hormones and social media in a college setting. Fascinating book, and I really am impressed with how depraved but insightful it is. We've also got from Image Comics the Whisper Queen #1, as well as the White Trees #1. These are both from Chris Anka and Chip Zdarsky. Chip Zdarsky is one of my favorite writers out there. Like, the top 10 writers all working, I will check out anything they do, and Chip Zdarsky is one of them. And Chris Anka art is always spectacular, so these two intrigue me greatly. Over from Marvel Comics, we've got Blood Hunt #1, dropping this week, along with that Red Band I talked about a little while ago. So the free comic book day Blood Hunt deals with the X-Men and all that goodness. Then Blood Hunt #1 in either regular or Red Band also drops this week. Cable #4, continuing the saga of Old Man Cable and Young Cable and that conflict. Deadpool and Wolverine World War III, I talked about at length in my news section, but this is the first time these two have been together in their own title, and it's from one of my favorite writers and one of my favorite artists in Joe Kelly and Andy Kubert, and this looks spectacular. The humor looks amazing. The writing I know is going to be great because he really gets Deadpool. This book I'm so excited for, and to see what the World War III of it all is. Then we've got Get Fury #1. Anytime we can find a new way to bring Fury in a real way, I'm excited about it. Immortal Thor #10. After last week's Rocks on Thor, or 2 weeks ago's Rocks on Thor, blew me away. I'm really excited to see the meta nature of where we go with this Immortal Thor and the element of stories and consumerism and what Thor means as a comic character versus just a product. We've also got the Incredible Hulk #12. This is a very horror-centric comic from Thompson and Nick Klein. Nick Klein making these horror lines work, man. This book is scary and grotesque and great. It feels like a very different take on Hulk. We've also got Invincible Iron Man #18. Invincible Iron Man has been spectacular this whole run. All 18 of these issues are great. I'm really loving the relationship between Emma Frost and Iron Man, and this looks like it's going to be Iron Man and Magneto teaming up to take on the Stark Sentinels. That sounds so badass. I'm so ready. They've built all the foundation of heart. Now it's time for the action, and I'm ready for that to happen. We've also got Spider-Woman #7. Spider-Woman has been a character I love. This arc has not been my favorite, but I'm willing to keep giving it a chance because I love me some Jessica Drew. We've also got that Ultimate Universe Spider-Man #1 coming from Free Comic Book Day. If you haven't checked out Ultimate Spider-Man yet, this is going to be a great jumping on point. It looks like it brings in Ultimate Doom as well as the Ultimates. We've also got Moon Knight, or The Vengeance of Moon Knight #5. I'm, again, not as in love with this Moon Knight as I had been with the run that just ended, but I'm willing to keep giving it a chance because I love me some Moon Knight. We've also got Weapon X-Men #3. Shockingly good book that's like a multiversal Wolverine story. So imagine if Spider-Verse happened, but instead it's Logan, and all these different Logans are not the best of their world. Like, we've got Earth X Logan, we've got Age of Apocalypse Logan, and they all have a strength that helps the team, but it's trying to find and stop the Phoenix, and all the trauma that each Wolverine has dealt with makes this team stronger for it. It's a really great look at a team of one character, times 5, but also at a look at Wolverine in the heart of the character, not just the action. And finally, X-Men #34. As we reach near the end of the Krakoa saga, this is the Fall of X chaos all coming together, and I'm really curious what issue 34 brings. Those are the comics I'm going to be checking out this week. It is a bit of a smaller week because it is not just Free Comic Book Day, but also the beginning of a very long month. I think this is a 5 comic book, 1, 8, 15, 22, and 29. It is a 5 Wednesday month, meaning we get 5 new comic days this month, so it's a little bit smaller of a pull. But those are the comics I'm going to be checking out at my local comic shop. I recommend you do the same. Let me know in the comments below which comics you're going to be checking out this week. Let me know what you've been reading in general, and let me know what else you want me to talk about on this very page and in this very show. This has been This Week in Comics. I've been Coy Jandro. I appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, comment, press YouTube buttons. I'll see you next week here, and I'll see you sooner with a Fall Guy review. Fall Guy review should be dropping either tomorrow or the next day. I loved it. Comic, movie news. I appreciate you guys caring. I'll see you soon.